Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. In Alice in Wonderland, there's a memorable moment when Alice is walking through the woods, lost and confused, and she comes across the ever-wise caterpillar smoking on his pipe. He puffs out the question to her, "Who are you?" And Alice remarks, "Well, sir, I've changed so much since this morning, I don't know how to answer that." In order to be here tonight, you had to prove your worth by filling out an application. I suppose this was designed to weed out people who just didn't have anything better to do tonight. After you get past the basic questions of first name, last name, where you come from, all that stuff, they ask you to tell you about yourself in 50 words. I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard for me to define myself in 50 words. I'm sure there's the superficial stuff. I'm a California native. I'm a soon-to-be college graduate, fingers crossed. But what about the more important stuff? How do you define who you are? If you'd asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said I was a high school graduate. I was an adult, according to the U.S. government, because I just turned 18 and could buy cigarettes and vote. I was also all set to go to San Francisco State University as a pre-nursing major. More on that subject later. I never would have guessed that I would be standing here today. I recall a quote that my dad told me the first day that I was moving away from home. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. I don't know about all of you, but I'm going to try to define myself. I know that we already heard from a certain lawyer who defines himself by what contraception he uses. I'll start with the simplest of definitions. I am Bill and Kimberly Cope's daughter. It's impossible to define who I am without giving you at least a little bit of family history. My father, Bill Cope, was born in 1952 in San Jose, California, to two migrants from Oklahoma and Missouri. Neither of them had any musical talent. However, they wanted a son to have musical talent, so they enrolled him in piano lessons from the age of 3. My dad showed signs of some kind of musical genius, which unfortunately was not passed down to me. And by the time he got through high school, he had played every instrument that the high school owned. However, there was something lacking in his life. Western music didn't connect with him on a deeper level. He was bored. Then his senior year of high school, I really like this story. My mom doesn't like it so much. His senior year of high school, he asked this girl out. He went to pick her up. As girls do, she was taking quite a while to get ready, and so he sat down with her Greek father, who poured him ouzo at 17 years old. And he put on a record of bouzouki music, which is Greek folklore. My dad had never heard anything like it. He ended up staying with the dad until 4:30 in the morning, and needless to say, he did not get a second date with that girl. Later, it wasn't actually, though, that wasn't the moment that really connected with him. It was a year later when he went to San Jose State University, and he was taking a college freshman folk dance class. Yes, they had those back then. Why don't we? Separate subject. When he heard the Bulgarian bagpipe, the gaida, for the very first time. He describes it as, "It was the sound I had always been waiting to hear. I loved it." It connected with him on the deepest of levels. Long time later, actually, I won't tell you how many years, he met my mom. She was quite the young thing, and she was much more interested in listening to bands like The Who and Boston and 38 Special, and really didn't know a thing about Balkan music. However, through their love affair, she came to appreciate it too, and she embraced the community that my dad had already formed with his musician friends. By the time I was born, music filled the house. Between band practices of the Balkan Noise Boys, Boys Will Be Boys, my lullaby was less like Rockabye Baby and more like this. Katerino mome, Katerino, zašto si toliko smome, hubava, zašto si toliko smome, gizdava. Which brings me to my next, never mind. I'm going to back up a little bit, actually. It was through this love affair that my dad had with Balkan music that his friends actually shared as well, that an organization called the East European Folklife Center was born. This incredible organization that's designed, as you can see, to promote, celebrate, and educate the public about traditional and traditionally based music, dance, and cultures of the Balkans. It's one of the most incredible organizations, in my opinion. They put on a special workshop every summer, 1 week, when you get to go into the middle of the Mendocino Redwood Forest and build a village. That's me in the front playing saxophone. It is here that I've spent the best times of my life. It's where my family is. It's where I feel is home. I went for the very first time to this camp at 6 weeks old. I had colic. Everybody hated it. If you don't know what colic is, it means I couldn't stop crying. I've never missed a year since. This summer, I will be going for the 23rd time. And really, if you ever have a chance to come visit California at the end of June, I'll take you. It's really exceptional. It was through my involvement in this organization that I learned to define myself as a cultural diplomat, though I didn't know that that was the way to define it. Being immersed in such a field, or in such a world, I guess, growing up, I had a very rich life experience, and I had a very profound respect for the cultural arts. And this developed into a passion for building bridges, for sustaining communities through the power of cultural arts. I don't know about any of you, but especially here at AUBG, I never cease to be amazed when I see people sitting around in a circle with a guitar out on the grass, and maybe there's a Macedonian and a Serbian and a Bulgarian, and they're all singing the same song. There's nothing more powerful, I think. I went too soon. You guys can look at this picture a little bit longer. It was through this involvement that I came to Bulgaria for the first time in 2005 with my family. I don't know if you know about it, but there's this incredible festival that happens every 5 years. It's called Koprivnica. It takes place in the town of Koprivnica. It brings together the best talent in the nation of folklore and folk music and folk dance. They perform on multiple stages representing various regions, and it's spectacular. Unfortunately enough, as a foreigner, you're not allowed to perform on those stages, but they do have a special stage just for international folks like us. So, in 2005, the Cope family band that you saw in the previous picture opened the international stage. It was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life, and I will never forget the applause that we received after we sang my favorite song. Marigalabe, galabe, oi vivas peli galabe, oi vivas peli galabe, kato havarka te visoko, visoko shte shiroko, visoko shte shiroko. Thank you. When we walked off the stage, I was overwhelmed by the generosity of spirit that the Bulgarian community showed to me. They all surrounded us. There were so many invitations to come to people's homes. Everybody wanted to open their doors and to continue the celebration. And it was when it really sank in for me, the fact that music can bridge any gap, whether it's cultural, language, age, it can do miracles. However, you cannot talk about Bulgarian folk music without also talking about Bulgarian dance, which, as some of you might know, I love. I can vividly recall at those camps the moments when I was maybe 3 years old and I couldn't see above people's kneecaps, standing in the center of a long line of row as people spun around me. I had no idea what I was doing, and I mostly just flailed around. But slowly, gradually, similarly to how children, I would imagine, in villages in Bulgaria or in the other countries in the region learn how to dance, my extended Balkan family brought me into the dance line. By doing this, they gradually taught me the dance steps to Pravo, Paidushko, Lezno. And that's why now, when I hear music, I can't help but move. So I'm going to show you my favorite dance, which is Rečenica. I could attempt to express in words, but I don't know how to express the absolute and pure joy that I feel when I dance these dances in a line of folk dancers as far as you can see, everybody holding hands. I swear that there's not a more powerful feeling when you hear the music washing over you and your body is moving. As you can see, my look of pure ecstasy, I guess. Now to move a little bit away from that and to say something probably unexpected, maybe. I am a college dropout. I started my college career, as I said, we'd get back to it, at San Francisco State University. I had said my entire life that I was going into the medical field. I was going to be a doctor. That changed a little bit, and I was going to be a nurse, but I was still going into the medical field. Then, during a 7 a.m. microbiology lecture, I had an epiphany. I recall sitting there, and 7 a.m., there are lectures at that time. I recall looking around me and seeing everybody furiously taking notes, and they were hanging on every word that this professor was saying. And I just didn't feel it. And I had this thought, who wants a nurse that just doesn't feel it? I also realized about the same time that I really don't like needles and blood. No good. However, this was really a shocking realization in my life. My entire life plan suddenly made no sense. I was lost and confused, and so I was asking different people, what do you think I should do? And the thought came up, well, I loved being in Bulgaria. I love the Balkans. Maybe I'll go spend a summer. I'll do some volunteer work there. And another friend mentioned that she adopted her daughter from the orphanage here in Blagoevgrad, and she said that Blagoevgrad is the best city that you could be in. You have to get there. So I turned to Google, and I plugged in volunteer, orphanage, Blagoevgrad, 3 keywords, and I got a hit. The first hit was an article describing this group of university students who went to the orphanage regularly and worked with the kids, volunteered there. There was a university here? What? I clicked through, and I discovered the American University in Bulgaria. I have no idea how I did not know about this place before, but I was shocked. And I had this keen sense that I really needed to get there. Initially, though, I thought, I'm not ready to drop out of my university. Like, I'm a San Francisco girl. I'm good with being in California. So I went to my faculty advisor, and I said, I found this great school. I see that they have exchange programs. Can I go? How do I go for a year? And he said, you don't. He said, we've got plenty of other programs. Don't you want to go to China or Germany or UK? I said, no, I want to go to Bulgaria. This is the school that I need to go to. I went to countless other faculty advisors. I don't know how many hours I spent in that office until finally I met one who frankly told me, if this is where you want to go, you just need to go. This was after one of the other ones had told me, you can go, but you're going to have to pay tuition in San Francisco and in Bulgaria. So I left his office that day, and I remember going back to my dorm room and sitting there thinking, how on earth am I going to tell my parents that I want to drop out and I want to move to Bulgaria? I was panicked, but I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough, I suppose, to have very supportive parents. And in fact, my dad was more excited about the fact that I wanted to go to Bulgaria than being in San Francisco. I don't know how that works. Well, I guess you guys can all figure it out. They told me that I didn't have to follow the set life plan, that even though all of my peers from high school had it all figured out, if that was not where I needed to be, then we were going to make a new path, an unorthodox path. And here I landed. And I can't explain the profound sense of belonging that I experienced when I got here that I'd never found at any other school, high school, middle school, anywhere else I've ever been. It's never been as clear as being here. Except after my first year, I felt like something was missing. I did find a dance group in town, Ensemble, this amateur dance group, and I went twice a week my entire first year to dance. However, I'd been completely spoiled my entire life. I had band practice in my house. I wanted live music, and I couldn't fathom the fact that here I was in Bulgaria at a university, and there was no folk music. There was no music. Well, there's a music department. There was no folk music. So I started talking about this idea I had. I didn't feel confident, really, actually, as a singer most of my life. I'm really great as a supportive singer. I didn't feel competent in teaching singing. I didn't know how it was going to evolve, but as soon as I said, I want to be singing, people responded. And they said they wanted to be singing, too. And so the summer after I left, my first year here, I spent the entire thing researching as much folk music as I could get, and I'm proud to say that female folklore ensemble Svetlina is one of my proudest accomplishments of my entire life. Now, To move away, actually, again, to a different topic. This is a little bit more personal. I could not stand here today and try to claim to tell you who I am without acknowledging my grandmother. I am Dolly Jewel Cope's granddaughter, and the best parts of who I am, I attribute to her. Without her influence in my dad's life, he wouldn't have been on the path with music that he was. Without her influence in my life, I would never have been brave enough to come here. If you'll bear with me, she was one of the most modest people I've ever known, and so her story is not shared very often, and I'd like to share it with all of you. She was born in a very, very poor family in 1923 in Oklahoma. If any of you know much about American history, that was not a good time to be in Oklahoma. When she was 14, in an attempt to escape her family situation, she got married. Within a year, she had my Uncle Jerry. However, the man she married was an angry drunk, and he beat her. Rather than allowing her son to grow up in that environment, she did something that's far too rare today and was even less common then, and she packed up her bags and she left. And she moved to California by herself with my Uncle Jerry. When she arrived, she picked up various odd jobs, as a single mother can do, I guess. She was a cook, she was a baker. She even worked in the shipyards as a riveter, which I paid tribute to on Halloween as Rosie the Riveter. And luckily, she met my grandfather, and they were married for 59 years. Throughout those years, on every anniversary, she wrote him a poem. She was kind of a closet poet. She didn't like many people to know, but I carry with me, everywhere I go in my wallet, one of her most beloved poems, I Gotta Be Me. Whatever I do, I gotta be me. My reasons you may not see. When my actions you don't agree, remember you are you, and I gotta be me. Friend, conductor, knitter, dancer, musician, all of these words up here are ways that I define myself today. Some of them are fairly constant, some of them are continuously evolving, but I do know, just as surely I guess as Mark knows that he's a lawyer, that I am and will always be Lacey Jewel Cope. Take it or leave it, I guess. Not quite, getting there. How do you define yourself? That's my question. It's easy, I guess, to put these words up here, but I want to challenge you to push yourself to the limits. I could never have actually figured out most of what I am if I hadn't have taken myself out of my comfort zone and made myself uncomfortable. So I want you to push yourself to the limits. And when you think you can't push any further, you can't. So it does take a little bit of courage to grow up and become who you are, but I guarantee it's worth it. Thank you.